My name is Muhammad Ali Vaez, and this is episode 3 of Healing Out. Brought to you by #Vitargo and Wrestle Radio Australia. This week I had a conversation with the Jurassic punk Syd Parker. Syd and I talked about philosophies in wrestling, his humble beginnings, where he sees himself going, whether he likes being the good guy or the bad guy. It was quite the conversation. And I appreciate the fact that Syd took the time out to have the conversation with me so that I can share it with all of you. However, fair warning, if you are easily offended by coarse language and or graphic sexual conversation in reference to analogies to professional wrestling, then I would go ahead and humbly invite you to skip this week's episode. Nonetheless, it was what I thought a good conversation. We dropped a lot of names, kind of on purpose, as you'll hear in the conversation. But before we get to that conversation, I thought I would give you guys a little bit of an update, because it has been an entire week. Now, I've had a few accolades in my life, a few different job titles. Currently, I am a Global Force Wrestling superstar. Take my word for it. I am also a former Ohio Valley Wrestling Triple Crown winner. There's only 14 of us in the 20-year history of the company. But this week I added another accolade to my list of accomplishments. That accolade, or I should more accurately describe it as that job title that I have now ascended to, is that of house husband. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Muhammad Ali Vaez is a house husband. Now listen, I'm all for equality among the sexes. I believe that men and women are created equally. Certainly so when it comes to mental capacity. Physically, there are obvious physiological differences between the sexes, but nonetheless, it is irrelevant to my house husband conversation. My wife got a new job, and because of that, I have to take her to the train station, about a kilometer or two away from the house, every morning at 7:30 a.m. And then I go and I pick her up in the evenings around 6 p.m. So that pretty much gives me all day to accomplish my house husband duties. Now, I know what you're thinking. What exactly does a house husband with no children do? Well, I'm glad you asked that. What do? Well, I come up with fantastic podcasting content, like what you're currently listening to. I'm also not afraid to admit that I clean up and tidy around the house. Why not? My wife works hard. At the end of the day, her feet hurt. So if I can just do a little bit of stuff around the house to facilitate her feeling welcome in her own home, then I have absolutely no problem with that. Of course, in between my penchant for wearing aprons while I dust and cooking chicken and broccoli with sweet potato, I also find the time, of course, to go to Anytime Fitness here in Point Cook, where I blast out a trainee grow workout 4 times a week. But today I had the unique opportunity of participating in my first improv session. Yes, improv. Some would say what we do in professional wrestling is, in a way, improv. And to an extent, you would be correct. However, I've never actually pursued acting endeavors. Well, that's not true. I was in the B movie Ultimate Deathmatch 2 that went straight to DVD and was sold at Walmart for a few months. I think there was another one too, but it was so bad that I don't even remember it. So if I don't remember it, there's no way any of you have ever heard of it or are going to see it. So take my word for it. But nonetheless, I had a blast today. I met up with an actor by the name of Daniel Hill, and we improvised a scene. And more information will be available once that scene has been fully edited. And I will decimate on my social media accounts. You know, just trying to turn over a new leaf here. Being a house husband. Being and I use this term very loosely, an actor. And of course, a professional wrestler. And how could you forget also the host of my own podcast? A professional podcast. This podcast is so professional that I actually had to record this introduction 3 times. The first time, I messed up my own name. The second time, I dropped the microphone. This is the 3rd time. Now, I like to pride myself on being a one-take promo. So it pains me to admit that this was a 3-take effort. Nonetheless, listen, don't get hung up on how many times it took me to coherently talk into a microphone for 7 minutes straight. Just enjoy the ride with this particular long-haired Persian house husband as he embarks on this conversation with the Jurassic punk Syd Parker. You can contact me at Ali_Vaez. Hit me up for bookings and or feedback, positive or negative, on the Healing Out podcast. You can also see me on Friday, October 23rd at the Ashwood Performing Arts Center for Outback Championship Wrestling. And the following night, I will be in Melton for Warzone Wrestling. So I got a busy weekend coming up. Actually, no, I don't. Today is Thursday. This weekend, I don't have anything going on. I am going to a Russell Brand comedy show because my wife is a huge fan. I could really live without him. But when you're married, you make these sacrifices. You do these things. So I'm going to go see Russell Brand live on Saturday. The following week, I'll be competing at Outback Championship Wrestling and Warzone Wrestling. Check out my social media accounts for more information on those shows. And I hope you enjoy this conversation with the Jurassic punk, Syd Parker. Sitting here in an apartment in Essendon. Is that right?
Yeah.
Essendon? Essendon with the one and only Jurassic punk, Syd Parker.
How do you say Melbourne?
Melbourne.
Oh, that's good. That's fine.
Not bad, huh?
Are we allowed to swear?
Yeah, man. This is. I don't think Josh at Wrestle Radio minds. So.
Actually, yeah. I think I said cunt on his podcast. How you doing, Josh?
My mom might mind.
Your mum? My mum might listen to this too. Actually.
So
she doesn't. She doesn't need to know.
Don't do anything that would shame you in front of your parents. I guess is the rules to live by. How you doing, man?
Yeah, not bad. Can't complain.
How's your body feel? That's a weird question to ask another man on podcast format.
Well, to get the visual, normally a man and a man would sit opposite one another.
Yeah, that's true.
Because this is a professional act and we have a professional microphone, but we only have one of them. Mm-hmm. So we have to... I've never been this close to you. We've known each other a little while. I've never been this close to you. Our knee hair's actually touching
like
at the
physically,
moment.
Yeah. Well, I explained on the previous episodes that I am attempting to do a professional podcast because I'm a fan of podcasting, and because I'm a fan of podcasting and I listen to a lot of podcasts, I automatically assume that because I'm a fan of the product of podcasting that I could produce and create a podcast of my own. You know what I mean? I've explained that on numerous occasions, and a part of my unprofessional setup is that I only have one microphone that has to face a specific way in order for your voice to pick up. So we're both two full-grown men sitting on a couch here in Melbourne.
How much?
Did I say it right?
Yeah, how much was your microphone?
I actually didn't pay for it.
That's why we only have one microphone, and that's why this is still a good setup.
Yeah, I got
It's fucking free.
I got the old Persian hookup on the microphone. My buddy Ruzbe does a little music stuff, and I mentioned to him, do you know anything about microphones? And he said, as a matter of fact, I do. And we're speaking into this M Audio Producer USB microphone, courtesy of my buddy Ruzbe. Thanks, Ruzbe.
God bless you, Ruzbe. Oh, wait, is it God bless you to him?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sweet.
So let's put that question into context. The reason why I asked you how your body's feeling is because I just earlier tonight watched you at the big MCW show where you had a spectacular match. Who did you face? Your masked opponent. I cannot remember his name. Mutiki. First time I've seen Mutiki.
He's from Tijuana, Japan.
Okay. Tijuana, Japan. Huh?
It's pro wrestling? I don't know.
It's better than Parts Unknown, I guess.
Nothing's better than Parts Unknown.
You could be from...
I come from Isla Nublar.
But you're a dinosaur.
Rawr.
You could be from Parts Unknown and still also be from Tijuana, Japan, technically. Because nobody knows where you are.
That's true.
Nobody
Maybe
knows where you're from.
From Parts Unknown, fighting out of Tijuana, Mexico, Mutiki.
I like it. Nonetheless, it was a hard-hitting contest. As always, you brought it. So I feel obliged to say, how's your body feel, man? Because there's been times where my body's hurt after these hard-fought contests.
Well, to ask a wrestler that is an issue. I often wonder, would this be sore if I wasn't a wrestler? Like, would this level of pain be... Like, I don't know. What does that make sense?
Well,
you sound like an idiot.
Yeah, no. Well, if you're not a wrestler, you totally sound like an idiot. The problem is, like, a cardiologist isn't going to go up to another cardiologist and go, hey, how's your heart feeling?
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
That's the difference. But I could see how, like, a bodybuilder guy would be in the gym complaining about his pec being, hurt. I can see my friend Rob Terry telling my friend Jesse Goddard's, two certified body guys, about muscle injuries that they've incurred in their bodybuilding pursuits. And that would be an acceptable conversation.
Can we play a drinking game? I would, if we play a game, or the listeners at home play a game, every time you drop a name, such as Jesse Goddard's or Rob Terry, have a drink.
Yes. Oh, if that's the case, then I'm going to start dropping names left and right.
Well, you can't do it, like...
In organic conversation.
It has to be organic, yes.
But the carny thing about the podcast is we can drive the conversation to be able to...
I think it's a good gimmick.
Pepper and drop. Yeah, it is. You want to make that the theme of your interview here?
I can't see why not.
All right. What's the criteria for the names?
I don't know. Just, like, you have to have met them. So
met them?
Or, like, you can stretch the story. You have to include how you met them or how you know them, maybe.
Oh, well, I can't divulge some of that info. All right. I'm down.
All right.
Well, how about situational or context appropriate?
Yes, that's
like
better.
For instance, I could be talking about how one time I got the opportunity to shake Vince McMahon's hand. See, that would make them at home or at the office drink. What if they're driving in the car listening to this?
Pull over. This is more important.
Well said. Well said. So, yeah, I'm having you on here, man, because I'm a fan of your work.
Oh, stop it.
Well, you get off my knees here real fast. But, no, man, I said in the first episode that basically this is like a forum for me to talk to people that I like, about things that I like, and you fit the bill. So, I want to ask you, how long have you been wrestling now?
It's 6 years in March, coming up.
And, did you always know that you wanted to do this?
I actually distinctly remember the first time I decided I'm going to be a pro wrestler.
Which was?
It was my friend Tom Wheeler's 13th birthday.
Now, would Tom Wheeler... is that dropping a name? It's got to be somebody within the wrestling business, doesn't it?
When I was... We're going to come back to this story because I'm going to have to go to a different story to explain this, but it's a good story nonetheless. When I was younger than I am now, I'd actually made my debut for a different wrestling federation called CFX Wrestling, which was my backyard wrestling federation.
Perfect. I like where this is going.
And we had, obviously, we had characters and gimmicks. Mm-hmm. Mine was Johnny Cage, but with a K, not a C.
Of course.
My finisher was like the Codebreaker, but I do it from a GTS style.
I would have thought it was an uppercut.
Nah, I didn't care much for Mortal Kombat. I just thought it was a good name.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. And Tom Wheeler was one of my main foes and a close friend of mine to this day.
Of course.
As all foes are. They tend to become your friends in wrestling.
Yeah.
And he was... Tom Wheeler was his name, and his finisher was the Wheel Deal. I copped many a Wheel Deal when I was 12 years old.
Wow. So, were you the heel?
I was the heel.
You were the heel of the
backyard
fed?
I was the heel in the backyard fed. Top heel, actually. Top heel.
Well, you and Tom Wheeler were close, so...
Yeah, well...
What did your ring look like?
It was actually at the front of my house. We had wooden fences, so like quite thick. Maybe how big is that in inches?
6, maybe.
It's got to be 7.
7.
I like
Perhaps
to tell
an
the
8.
girls that it's 7 or 8.
Yeah, you can tell them.
Anyway, this was probably
by the time they find out, it's too late.
Exactly. So when that's how wide each panel of the fence was. It was quite thick, and you could stand on it and be safe. And it was probably shoulder height to me, which I guess 5 feet. So that was our turnbuckle road. There was only 2 fence panelings next to each other because it looked nice in my mum's front yard.
Okay.
And a mattress.
And your mom put up with this?
Yeah, my mum's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Wow. So you were the top heel.
Yep.
In CFX.
CFX. I saw that on a calculator poster in math class. Thought those 3 letters looked cool next to each other.
So in class, that's what you're learning.
Yeah, I used to do pencil wrestling at my desk. Like, I just have pencils fighting each other instead of doing math. And I'd look up and everyone was just watching me pencil wrestle.
Were there other kids that pencil wrestle too?
Nope.
Did you?
Just me.
You?
No one else.
Do you think that may have been the seeds for the punk gimmick that you do today?
Maybe. Although I get told I'm quite well spoken and well learned.
Yeah, you are. You sound like an intelligent guy.
I sound like, anyway.
Well, the stereotypical wrestler is a moron. Unfortunately. And I don't mean that...
Isn't there one like that competing podcast with you? Is there one like that?
You must be referring to Josh the Axe Shooter.
Oh, yeah, that's him.
Listen, that means you have to drink. You have to take a drink because we mentioned him within context.
I wrestled him at NAW.
No, the reason why this came up is because a couple months back I got screwed over by Qantas when I was going back to the United States.
Qantas sucks.
Yeah, that's what I said, and I complained about it openly on Twitter because Twitter is a forum where individual consumers like us have a voice against these multi-billion-dollar corporations. Because if you send them a letter or an email, I promise you're not going to get a response. And I got jumped by all these Qantas trolls for like hours.
Qantas trolls.
I swear, dude. Go back to my timeline in July. It was ridiculous, and they kept calling me like a meathead wrestler and blah blah blah. It probably didn't help that they clicked on my profile photo and I'm a shirtless dude, but nonetheless,
a shirtless Arabian dude complaining about airlines.
Yeah. So when your name's Muhammad, you got a lot to complain about when it comes to air travel. But nonetheless...
There's going to be some people that don't like it.
Yeah. So as soon as people find out you're a wrestler, they automatically think you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I have experienced this in numerous occasions. But I've met a lot of smart people in wrestling.
Man, there's geniuses in wrestling.
They might not be like PhDs, but to tell a story like that, especially at the highest levels, with your body... and also be able to react to people, live emotions and stuff. I mean, it's an art form, dude.
if you respect Johnny Depp as an artist, you have to respect Shawn Michaels.
I agree. So, if you respect Shawn Michaels, by the way, that's 3 drinks right there. If you respect Shawn Michaels, then you have to respect Johnny Cage, the cornerstone heel of CFX.
Exactly.
Which took place in Sid Parker's mom's front yard. So that's when you knew you wanted to be a wrestler, is because of your success.
Well, yeah, well, it was at his birthday, they did like a filming thing. Mm-hmm. Like his mum, what do you want to be when you grow up? Asking everyone that was at the birthday. There was maybe like 6 or 7 dudes, just 12-year-olds, and she asked us, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want to be this. And she asked me, and I didn't really know what I wanted to be. And she got to me, and I was kind of nervous about, what am I going to say? And then she was like, what do you want to be? And I was like, I guess I want to be a wrestler. I want to be a wrestler. And then I just sort of decided then.
What was the response that you got in that moment?
I don't actually remember the response too well. I guess some people thought it made sense because the pen wrestling and whatnot.
Yeah.
But some people like, okay. Like, you're not going to tell a 12-year-old he can't live his dream.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you'd be a real heel if you did.
Oh, yeah. You'd probably be on this podcast.
Well, that's true. You could be on this podcast, or you could have been in Johnny Cage's spot at CFX. It's cool being a 12-year-old with your own backyard fed, but at what point...
Technically, it was front yard.
But
I did say
at what point does that become the primary driving focus of the decisions you make on how to live your life? Like, when did the desire to play in the front yard turn into a desire to do that same activity
to tell
for
stories
a living?
In front of people?
Yes, for money.
For an audience? Maybe not even for... I don't know when it became for money. Well,
it's not necessarily for... There's a lot better ways to make a living. That's not what I meant.
I don't think it should ever be about that for anyone, because unless you're Brock Lesnar, you're going to be sorely disappointed.
Well, that's very true.
What was the original question?
The original question was involving when did I decide that was going to be the primary focus and then take steps towards that?
Well, I remember I used to play rugby league. I was pretty good at it, and the team that I played for in Kangaroo Valley, which is not very big, the team folded, and I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. And I remember I was turning 16 at the time, and AWF in... Where were they based? Minto. That's how you say it if you're an Australian.
Minnow.
That was close. More nasally. It's got to be more...
Minnow.
That's better, actually. But drag the O out.
Minnow.
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 Lazier. You're putting too much effort into it. Minnow.
That shit's hard, man.
Minnow. But it's super easy. Minto is so much effort. It's still not Minto.
Minto.
Actually, a fun one to say when I was in England was dance.
Dance?
Dance.
For what?
Well, because they say dance.
Yeah. Tomato.
Yeah, it was just, they give me a funny look.
Makes sense.
In Minnow, AWF TNT Greg Bounds had a school, and my mum said which was a 2-hour drive. This comes back to my mum being cool.
Yeah.
It's a 2-hour drive. My mum would take me on Saturday. She paid the whole tuition.
How old were you?
I was 16.
Wow.
My mum left me there. My dad, sometimes they stayed a little bit, just to make sure they weren't scumbags.
Yeah.
They clearly didn't look hard enough, but...
Fair enough.
No, AWF was good. And I learned a lot. Gimmicky. Quite, gimmick heavy AWF, I think, sometimes.
Okay.
And it's good.
So you feel like you got a solid base on
definitely
working a character and being an individual, and excellent. So how long did you spend there?
Well, I trained for 2 years before I could wrestle, because I couldn't wrestle till I was 18.
Fair enough. Is that a legal thing here in Australia?
I think it's a legal thing, but also...
An ethical thing, obviously.
Well, and, who wants to see someone... who wants to pay money to see a 16-year-old, I guess, so why would Greg put me in that spot when he's got other guys?
No, that's understandable.
And that's fair enough.
Strictly business, kid. Strictly business.
No, that's fine, I get it. But then once I debuted, I was ready. I debuted against Mick Moretti, who the Green Dragon.
There we go.
And he was. I actually started the very same day. He's somewhat well known in the Australian independent wrestling scene.
By the way, this is 3 more drinks in case you're keeping track at home. By the way,
started with Mick Moretti. He did well in Adelaide tonight, I hear.
For
Oh, shit. I don't know. I think RCW. I think, man...
we should ask Josh. Josh was there tonight.
So cut
the producer of this podcast.
Okay, Josh is going to cut it, and he's going to cut it to say if it's RCW or if it's Wrestle Rampage.
Yeah, if it's Wrestle Rampage, then just cut
cut
out
it, and
that
I'm gonna
last 30 seconds.
And I'm going to say it was for Wrestle Rampage.
Well, the problem here is it's one take.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's okay.
Both of those two products are very good.
Well, that's not the question. The question is,
Well,
you didn't want to not know which show he was going to be on.
Yeah, I was just trying to...
I shouldn't have set you up for that question, but...
No, you should probably...
Being that this is healing out, I just tried to heal out
you cut
on
me
you.
off. You cut me off.
Yeah.
Little dirty eye poke there. You motherfucker.
You know, this is my third podcast.
I'm shaking my fist.
This is my third podcast. I'm getting good at carnying. So, fair enough. At what point did you say, look, man, this is what I want to do? It's one thing to go to class, but then there's another fundamental difference that happens when someone says either I think I have something or people have told me I've had something and I believe that I can support myself. I can make a living doing this. At what point did you say that's what I'm going to strive for? Because it's one thing, plenty of people, like in the United States, for instance, grow up playing baseball, but not everybody tries to go out for the major leagues. That's the difference. All right, I guess in my question.
Man, I think it was when I was 10 and I said I was going to do it, and I just said I'm going to do it. Because she asked me what my
pictured yourself.
And I just said I couldn't think of anything else I wanted to do. And I'm a big believer of, like, you only have one life. I guess even at 10, I just want to do what makes me happy.
Yeah.
And that's probably not led to the best decisions sometimes. But
well, no. But when you look back, I always justified it like this, is like, yeah, you have this passion, but when I look back at 50, am I going to regret what I did or did not do or take advantage of when I was 20, 25, 30, these ages? So I have no regrets myself. It's just I like hearing about how other people, because I mentioned this to you earlier, but like I came over to your place after that last OCW show, and it's 8,000 miles away from Louisville, Kentucky, but I could have literally replaced the two interchangeably. It's the exact same thing. The boys sit around watching wrestling, talking about wrestling. It's the same thing. So inevitably, people come to that juncture, whether they do that or not, in different yet similar ways. Hence why we were giving everybody an opportunity to take drinks by creating an organic way for you to drop several names.
Exactly.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So you're the Jurassic Punk.
I am the Jurassic Punk.
Explain the Jurassic Punk.
It's way more... I feel bad when I explain it because, man, it kills all the kayfabe. It's not cool at all. Like,
I'm sure at some point I'm going to put you over at OCW, so
yeah,
I don't think kayfabe's the issue on this show.
That's true.
Episode 1, I bitched at internet fans.
Oh, yeah, that was... I told him how dumb it was. Like, there's two people that are going to listen to this, wrestlers and internet fans, and you've just killed 3/4 of your market.
I alienated the internet fans by healing out. It was only on a select few, healing out on them, and, you know...
And then he brings me on his podcast
now I've got
to get his fucking heat.
Yeah.
God. Anyway...
Listen, instead of dropping each other's names, we should be dropping other people's names.
Well, our names are the most important names at the
this moment, yes.
Because
but
this is healing out.
That's true.
With Muhammad Ali Vyas and Sid Parker. Take some drinks.
That's true.
Anyway,
so,
the reason I'm the Jurassic Punk...
The reason why you're the Jurassic Punk...
is because I like dinosaurs and punk music. End.
I mean, that's pretty succinct.
Yeah.
So, who did you enjoy watching growing up? Who would you say influenced what you do today?
Me. I remember Sting. As a kid, Sting was my favorite wrestler.
Okay.
I like Goldberg too, but Sting was my guy. I don't even remember any matches, I just remember Sting. My earliest wrestling memory is Goldberg spearing the turnbuckle and knocking himself out. Or like shoot. This is my first wrestling memory. Yeah, I guess I like the face paint. That's why I like the face paint.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people, first off, to get in the wrestling business, 9 times out of 10, either you're an athlete that's recruited, you're related to somebody, or you're a fan. Most of the time, it's because you're a fan. And those that perform who were fans before they performed, inevitably, you will find pieces of the people that they were fans of in their own work.
Mm-hmm. I like Great Muta too.
I'm a big Ric Flair fan. Go figure.
No shit.
Yeah.
Randy Savage. Randy Savage and Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Terry Funk is my dream match. I said this on Josh's podcast, actually, so to say it again, I guess, is a bit redundant, but Terry Funk, dream match still. Someone book it.
Fair
House
enough.
of Hardcore's coming up. I want to wrestle Terry Funk.
As a matter of fact, let's drop Terry Funk's name again. So that's the second drink because I'm dropping his name.
Okay,
now.
that seems fair.
I had the opportunity to work a pay-per-view with Terry Funk, and I got into a conversation with Terry, and he was so awesome to talk to. Super cordial. And we literally talked all the way up until literally 2 minutes before I had to go out for my match. And I didn't want to stop the conversation, but I had to politely say, I'm sorry, Terry. I have to go right now. I have to go wrestle right now.
That's my
on
music,
pay-per-view.
sorry. You can come with me.
Yes.
Come with me, please. Yeah.
Please come watch over me as I put over Hacksaw. But
Hacksaw's actually
two
funny.
drinks in the same story.
I have. It's not a funny story, but it's a funny thing. Dane Easton, or Dane William, actually, is his name. Fuck it, whatever. He wrestles as Mr. Mortis in Hunter Valley Wrestling, which I'm the champion of.
Okay.
And anyway, he and I have this weird, like it's weird as fuck, running joke that Hacksaw Jim Duggan doesn't wipe after going to the toilet. It's like, obviously he does, but he doesn't. And then we ask each other this question, or questions like it. I'll ask you, hey Ali, how much to lick the shit flakes from Hacksaw Jim Duggan from his asshole? How much money would it take?
That I would have to get paid to
Yes.
do? Obviously, I'm not going to pay to do that.
No, well, some might.
I don't know, man. I don't think I could do that. Like, what is it? Like, you have a printing press right there, and
Whatever it is, and like, I reckon I could get you down to a fair bit. I reckon I could get you, like, if we're playing Deal or No Deal, I'm getting you down to quite a bit of money. Because, or not, less than you would initially say. If the cash was right there,
I don't know, $1 million.
I reckon I could get you to 100 grand easy.
How?
Just, I don't know.
You're going to sell me on the fact that you should save $900,000 from the money that you're going to print me off this printing press.
Well, the thing is, you've answered your question already, but you haven't asked any of the details. Is anyone going to find out?
Because the premise is I've already thrown a price out, so I'd be willing to do it.
Yeah.
So I stooged myself off.
Exactly.
Good game. I like that. I had to fall for it before I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, touche.
And sometimes you just, like, if he asks me now, I just say, $20.
Oh, come on. $1 million, though? You wouldn't... I mean, come on.
Exactly, though,
Yeah.
right? Of course you'd lick the shit stains from fucking Gene Oakland's ball sack. I don't know.
But then if you...
That's another name.
That's... Yeah. If you did that, though, think about that would be like 3 seconds of humiliation and a lifetime of shame. But you could own 10 Hungry Jack restaurants.
Every wrestler on the planet would find a price. I guarantee you that.
I don't know. Yeah, that's possible. I bet a couple cardiologists would think twice about it too.
Well, yeah, probably. It's
$1 million.
Yeah, no, that's true.
$1 million.
Some shady folk.
Yeah, shady folk, man. So Syd Parker, the Jurassic Punk.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know Johnny Cage at CFX was a heel. Syd Parker, I'm seeing, works babyface and heel. What do you prefer? And why?
I think my gut answer would say I prefer being a heel, but if I think about it, I do enjoy being a babyface. There's nothing more pleasuring to a wrestler's ego, I think, than that babyface reaction. Like that really good one when you're over.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking nice.
Like the one I heard for Dowie tonight.
Exactly, that motherfucker. Being so good and working so hard. Piece of shit.
He's pretty damn over.
Yeah.
I want to buy a shirt.
He might not have any left, the prick.
See, I gotta disagree with you, man.
But I prefer probably working heel as an artistic standpoint.
Yeah.
Creating
100%.
as a heel is... And my character, I think, works better as a heel dynamic. And I enjoy playing it more as a heel because I get to do weird just shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's... I plus two, man, I think it's an extension of your personality. I've been told numerous times, like, you know, if you... But in a way not. Because I've also found that the heels are usually the nicer, more selfless people.
That's what I hear. Like...
Think about it. It's a fake fight, and you're going to go out there and lose.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's like, okay, let's go back to the $1 million. If you were offered $1 million to be in a movie, but your character dies,
yeah,
would you give a fuck?
Nah.
So why would you care that you lost a phony wrestling match?
Yeah.
But there are, again, inherently, most people want to be liked. So to get those cheers and adulation as a babyface, as you say, plays into that psychological need.
Yeah, it's nice. It's just nice every now and then to get a nice babyface pop.
I see, for me, it's more about manipulating.
Yeah. No, I enjoy it. I
Manipulating
love getting heat. Oh, getting heat is like fucking a girl in the ass really hard.
Wow. This is the most blunt language that has been used on Healing Out thus far. And how so, without being too graphic? Explain to me how that analogy is relevant.
Just, if you're like, as a heel, if you're getting the heat you want, you're kind of dominating an audience. You're making it do whatever the fuck you want it to do.
Expand on that, because I think I think I agree with you, but I want to hear your thought fully.
Now you've put me on the pressure, and I got to think about what I'm going to say.
There's no pressure. This is a friendly environment.
That's true.
It's a friendly environment with sometimes graphic sexual references.
Well, like fucking a girl, it's just, I don't know, you're right, like fuck, you're riding the audience. You'd like a surfer riding a wave. They're doing something, but you're doing that's probably not a good example. Surfer riding a wave is shit. Forget I said that. Scrap that, Josh.
Yeah, because the surfer's not in control of the wave.
Yeah.
The surfer is reacting to the
In fact, it's the opposite, is what I mean.
Yes.
Is the opposite of what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's...
And that is... And then to create... And I love creating the character. Like, I enjoy my character because it's something I've created. And then to use my character to then manipulate an audience and it to be under my spell is pretty...
That's the key, right there.
That's like fucking a girl in the ass. It's just a good feeling.
This is a lot more sanitary version, though, of a good feeling, I would say.
Oh man, I licked the ring canvas tonight.
Staff, yeah.
I licked the ring canvas tonight.
That was what happens when you're the Jurassic punk.
Yeah, fucking yeah.
No wonder your mind's in the gutter.
Yeah, I gotta be.
I think 100%, and I feel like I agree with you, is what I'm saying, and I'll take it one step further, in that I come from an environment where we are taught that usually the heel is the more experienced wrestler, and generally speaking, if you're the babyface, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
and
that's not so much.
But when it's an inclusive territory, anybody that's put in that position of being that heel is gonna have enough under their belt to be able to lead anybody.
Yeah.
So I learned how to listen to an audience and ebb and flow to where when you start doing false finishes and whatnot, you get them up, you get them down, you get them up. And it's not a guessing game. It's not, they reacted well. No. The reaction is not what you're going after. I could just pull my pants down and get a reaction. Mm-hmm. I could wear a diaper and take a shit in the middle of the ring and get a reaction. It's not about the reaction. It's about the emotion invested. This is phony shit. And if I can convince you it's not for this 25 to 30 seconds, enough to where, like, for instance, tonight, Dowie and Emmanuel had the first 3 rows on either side standing up. This is 2015. Okay? Anybody that's listening to this podcast for sure knows wrestling is a fucking work. But you can't tell me that these people thought it was real. No, they were bought into the moments. They were living vicariously through what they were seeing play out in front of them in a live action stunt / improv show with two guys that are at the top of their game. So they were living vicariously through it. It's no different than crying at a movie.
It's like, man, wrestling's like Doctor Who. That's what it reminds me of, among other things like porn. But Doctor Who, for example, like the gimmicks, and they sell the merchandise, and then you follow week to week, and you believe, and there's like these niche market, like geeks, quote unquote, like Doctor Who. My housemate loves Doctor Who. Wrestling is no different, I don't think. Like in that sort of geeky, it's a niche thing. Wrestling is such a niche thing.
Absolutely. But to that regard, that it's a niche thing, the thing about it being a niche thing is that the internet has brought all this change in society. You could literally get on the phone or get on Skype right now with somebody from Taiwan.
Yeah.
Just for whatever. That you couldn't do that 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's...
So while there is a small amount of fans, relatively speaking, to the world's population, it's not like what's the population of the world that are Christians?
Fuck, I don't know.
It's high, though,
I don't
right?
count.
Wait, it's high. Like, there are...
Yeah.
That's a measurable type thing, that people who are fans of Jesus. When you compare, like, people who are fans of wrestling to that number, it's minuscule. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's accessible. Like,
Yeah,
look at...
there's so much accessibility to anything nowadays.
100%. Do you think it's going to change wrestling going forward?
I think it has to.
I'm talking from a business standpoint.
From a business standpoint, as long as there's guys willing to do it for cheap that are talented, then no.
I think...
The business model does not suit the wrestler.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like anything. It's like a labor of love. Look at how many bands, for instance. A bunch of jerk-offs start a band, and they play in the garage, and then they go do some gigs. But for the most part, it's a high difference between the 1% and the 99%. But even those guys that get like record deals and stuff, the record company takes advantage of them and advance bills them for all their publicity to sell their own albums. So they may sell like 40 million records, but they get paid for like 5 million. It's ridiculous. So that's inevitably, in essence, with any
Artists aren't very good at business.
No, artists aren't
That
good at
is the
business, but
problem.
also artists don't have the capital to...
No, they don't have any
push the
leverage.
business, yeah.
Because the artist needs the business. The business will find another artist.
That's very true. I guess I was thinking more, in fact, of like, for instance, 20 years ago, if you weren't on TV, you didn't exist.
Oh, yeah.
But is that as important? Is that as relevant today?
The only TV product that not matters, but is probably Raw, I guess, on like a way to
On a
make,
global scale.
On a global scale.
Well,
yes,
I don't know.
On a global
Man.
scale.
Believe it or not, Superstars is seen in like 128 countries. It's seen in more countries than Raw, dude. Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. So Zack Ryder is known more than...
I swear, man. Literally, the last 3 years that I was up there, every time as an extra, you would hear that. They would say that. They would say things about, like, guys don't want to be on Superstars, but it's on 128 different countries.
Yeah.
So you think about that kind of stuff. I mean, think about that exposure. But that would be, like, the 1%.
I don't
Like
know
the
why
rock
they don't-
band that sells all the albums and is, like, touring and the company pays for it. You know what I mean? That's, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly right.
How did we transition from that and the change in the business based on internet from starting with Johnny Cage and CFX? See, that's the
We
mysteries.
went through butt sex.
And then, yeah, there was that detour.
And my biggest theory on what wrestling is like is porn.
Now, I've heard a similar analogy from Al Snow. There's another drink. Expand on that.
Like, the woman is totally the baby face.
In porn?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well, you watch her.
Okay. But you're not living vicariously through her.
No. Well, that's true.
At least I'm not.
But, like, you want to fuck her.
Yeah, okay.
You want to like her.
Yeah.
You don't like the dude. You want to be the dude.
He's irrelevant.
He's irrelevant. Much like any... Like in a Hulk Hogan match, I guess. He's going to get over.
Yeah. What would the definition of being over as a porn star be? I guess it would be like wrestling, where you get booked all over the place.
Yeah,
and
well, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's just like people will pay you more money to do nastier things, and even more money to do not as nasty things.
Do you think the porn business is like the wrestling business?
Oh yeah.
I doubt there's like little porn enclaves all over the world, though. Like I bet you couldn't be like a low budget amateur porn girl in Louisville, Kentucky.
How do you break into the business? You gotta
Casting
suck some
couches.
dick for money. Sometimes not even for me. Like, yeah.
That's true. Well, that's not how you break into the wrestling business, though. But I guess it's...
Well, for no money.
That's true. Yeah, the no money part's definitely consistent.
And, like, you gotta do some shitty jobs for very little pay.
That's true. Shitty jobs. What's the worst thing you've ever done in wrestling? Give me a story.
Oh, man.
Drop a name or two.
What, like...
You know, the vast majority of people that listen to these kind of podcasts listen to them when they're either at work or they're driving somewhere or they're doing something that doesn't involve alcohol. So nobody's taking a shot.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
But nonetheless.
Oh, man, I don't know the nastiest story.
It doesn't have to be, like, nasty, gross. But it could be, like, most unpleasant for you. Or...
I don't know. I licked the canvas tonight. Who the fuck would do that if you knew as much as I did about the canvas?
Is this the first time you've licked the canvas?
Yeah, it was. It didn't bother me that much, to be honest. And that's
You were just
the
that
worrying
into
thing.
it?
I was just like, well, and like I started doing it, and then I was like, oh, this is a bit gross, but not too bad. Like, and then I was like, oh fuck, I'm not getting a reaction yet because they haven't seen me do it yet, so I've got to keep going.
You're just ribbing yourself.
Yeah, so I was like, I've got to keep going until everyone fucking saw it, got the fucking reaction. All right, I should have just taken a sick bump.
You should have just pulled your pants down.
Yeah, and
Get that reaction.
actually, JXT said I had a nice dick.
Really?
Yeah, there's a name drop, which, you know, have a swig of coffee.
How is he in a position to give you that critique?
Well, he was... because he wears tights. And when you wear tights, they don't hug your balls and stuff.
Long tights.
Long tights. So his tights just are flat because it doesn't... His, like, crotch doesn't hug his nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I wear quite small trunks by design. In fact, myself and Josh Shooter have a semi-competition of who can have the smallest trunks. I'm winning. And it hugs my bulge. And he complimented me on it. It was quite a lovely thing for him to say.
We ran into a JXT enthusiast after the show.
Who I would presume would say a similar thing about myself.
Yeah.
What Josh said
So
about
you're trying to kind of, I wouldn't say overtly play to that demographic, but you know, you're aware of them. They may buy a Jurassic Punk t-shirt here and there if JXT's merchandise is sold out.
Yeah, well, yeah, motherfucker.
I'm
I'm ribbing myself being a heel. No one wants to, like, only the smart marks will buy my
See,
shirt.
I take pride in that, dude. Like,
Yeah.
that's another reason why I'm an asshole. I have a podcast called Healing Out where I'll heal out on marks, but I don't sell merchandise. And I had this conversation once with Z because he asked me why I don't ever come out there and do that, and it's because if I'm going to do my job and I'm going to properly motivate people and take them on that emotional roller coaster ride with my performances, the second I go out there and sit at that table and panhandle them for money to take a photograph or sign some shit, I'm bringing myself down to their level or worse. Not that their level is beneath me. It's not me as a person.
Your perceived
it's
level.
the perceived level of what I'm doing and the performance.
You don't want to compromise your art for $25.
No, absolutely not. But at the same time, it's a very realistic aspect of maximizing your profit in your own business.
No, you're not going to make
yourself.
any money in pro wrestling without merchandise.
That's true.
It's
You know,
just
back in the
not
day, the companies used to pay the heels more
Yeah, well, that's
for that reason.
like, yeah.
I try to make that argument sometimes.
I
with
know I'm
talking to
not good.
promoters.
Like, what am I going to say? What the
Listen,
fuck?
bro, you'll sell 5 more posters if you don't put me on it.
Do not advertise me. Don't promote me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And give me more money than your baby face.
And then the baby face would kick you some money too.
Yeah, then that's the thing from the old school.
But the old the old school too, these guys are working territories with the same people all the time. Whereas here, like in this particular bubble of wrestling, you've got like 5-6 companies that run in the same town, but not really on the same days, but sometimes on the same days, and they use the same guys, but in different roles, and some guys use some guys, and some guys, but nonetheless, you're in the same town doing one thing versus maybe doing another thing down the street, and then you're on community television doing something else. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
So the question basically is, do I like how it is now, currently in Australia, where I work for MCW, OCW, Platinum,
Wherever.
ever. Anyone that wants to book me, I'll wrestle for them. Or would I prefer to wrestle in the days of Memphis?
Meaning it's one consistent vision?
Yeah, one consistent
show, one consistent locker room.
You're just the circus going around doing the same
Yes.
thing, but telling an episodic
Yes.
whatever. I guess I would like to. I would like to do that. I want my art to be seen by the biggest audience. I guess.
Yeah.
Like I want my art to be seen by the biggest audience, though, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. As opposed to someone else's vision of my art, but obviously you have to make compromises.
That makes sense.
Stuff. And I mean, I still have to in today's product, obviously.
Yeah.
So
Well, the segue, the reason why that question was even posed, I guess, is I came from a territory environment, like where the top guy was the top guy, and you learned how to work your spot in the card, and then you moved up on the card. And unless you really come from that territory environment, it's more of a free-for-all. Meaning your business is to get yourself booked. Well, how do you get yourself booked? Well, you have one opportunity at a certain place. So if you make people make noise, then the promoter may be inclined to think that you have done a good job. And because you have done a good job, because people made noise at your stunt show, then you will get booked again. Or it doesn't necessarily, I don't even want to be condescending and say your stunt show. It could be a situation where you just want to get your shit in, for instance. Or you just want to do all this stuff that makes no sense kind of situation. But if your measure of success is going different places and doing different things like that, and that's how you perceive your art, it's at direct opposition to working in a territory environment where everybody's working to build one product. A show should flow. For instance, like it's like a match. A show should start off
definitely.
a certain way, and then there's the dip, and then the climax is the finish of the main event.
a show is a show. Like it's a
Yes. But do you think that's going to be the case when you have that non-territory commitment because it's another payday on a calendar month of 6 different companies? Not that everybody works for the 6 companies, but
yes,
you know
yes.
what I mean. Speaking in generalities here.
I guess that's where money comes into it too, because like if someone was paying me enough money, then I would do that, which is what WWE do. Yeah. And so if you ask me about that, that's what I think about most is, okay, well, I guess if I enjoyed doing that, I would rather do that because I can make more money doing it in that fashion.
That makes sense. But at the end of the day, you're a product of your environment. So do you feel like that's a situation where it can help make you a more versatile opponent? Or, I'm sorry, opponent. A more versatile performer? Or do you think it could somewhat limit your ability as a performer?
No, I think it increases it because you can... Like, for example, the best thing I ever did was go to England and learn to wrestle, and even leaving AWF to go to PWA was a great decision. Not because AWF was bad, but because I learned under someone new. I learned something new.
You added to your toolbox.
Exactly, which is something that, like, that would be my big piece of advice to anyone is, man, train different places, under different people, work in front of different crowds. Yeah.
Well, that is 100%.
And I guess that sort of dodges the question a little bit. I don't know what I'd rather. It'd be nice to, I guess, to have the humans like routine. I guess so. It'd be nice to have the routine of bang, 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 bang. And if it was a steady paycheck, fuck yeah.
But in reality, that's only going to happen in one place. So
exactly.
Otherwise, it's a pipe dream. Yeah, I can understand. Like, I guess this is all roundabout to close the circle of the conversation from, 10 minutes ago? About how the companies paid the heels more money to not sell the merchandise. And it facilitated that. So if I'm working Sid Parker around the horn, and Sid Parker's the babyface, and I'm the heel, and people are throwing bottles at me like they do in Mexico, for instance, and you're selling all these T-shirts
because I'm a good-looking kid.
Because you're a good-looking kid, you're gonna kick me a couple pesos for facilitating the opportunity for you. Because tomorrow night in Tijuana, Japan, guess who you're facing? Grizzled Ali, who's going to get more batteries thrown at him if he does his job correctly, so that Sid can sell more T-shirts and so that the office can sell more tickets for people to see Sid, so that everybody makes money. Make sense? You don't have that in a 6-company situation in the same town, so it makes it hard to be able to make that justification. That's all I'm saying. Nor should I expect that. I'm just saying, for conversation's sake, so where it's not even like a relevant thing. Like Jerry Lawler never left Memphis for 40 years and made more money than he's got a Batmobile. But those days are long gone. But could they be with the whole technological and communication innovation of the internet? What if you won Powerball tomorrow? Do you think, let's just pretend, you won $58 million. Would you get yourself a warehouse down in Port Melbourne and start putting on shows?
Fuck yeah. Nah, because I'd fucking...
That'd be a good way to lose money.
Yeah, it'd be a good way. I'd like Telstra Stadium, fuck it. No, not Telstra Stadium, MCG. Fuck, it'd be really cool to wrestle in the MCG.
Let's pretend like you did win Powerball. And let's pretend like you got yourself
I wouldn't draw any people.
What if you bought a billboard? Now I'm really talking shit. But what if you bought a billboard?
Well, if I've just won Powerball, I could.
Exactly. That's my point.
Advertise however I want.
Do you think its relevancy to a mass population is such so?
I think
that unless it's a WWE show, that
I think with enough money, I could fill MCG, but I wouldn't make my money back even if I filled MCG by the amount of money that I had to spend.
Well, what is MCG?
MCG is the biggest sporting arena in the world.
Oh,
it's the Melbourne Cricket Ground, which is just out of the city. It holds about 100,000 people. Without people on the floor.
Well, that's just ridiculous, dude. Come on. $5,000. Why can't you just get, I'd be happy with 5,000 tickets sold. What are you talking about?
Because I want a main event in fucking MCG.
Well, okay. Well,
if I won $58 million,
okay, well,
I'm main eventing.
Okay. I forgot about the Powerball winner connection here. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, a lot of indie promotions in the United States are like that, except there's no Powerball.
Well, there's no MCG.
100,000 people.
Hey, man.
But, okay, fair enough. Listen, Sid, I've appreciated this conversation. My computer is about to die.
Oh, well,
We're getting close.
We didn't even get to talk about...
But we need to talk about Necro Butcher.
I just love Necro Butcher. I asked him earlier on the podcast if we could talk about... earlier before the podcast.
Started,
Before we even started, if we could talk about Necro Butcher.
And I probably didn't bring him up.
Yeah.
Because I'm healing out.
Motherfucker. God.
Listen.
Anyway, this time's flown too. It feels like I asked you 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was actually 52 minutes ago.
Yeah. Anyway, Necro Butcher, man. I've been watching him recently, and the only reason I want to talk about him is because I want to mark out for him, because I watched 2 of his matches last night, actually. Which was in preparation for my MCW debut.
What matches and where did you watch them?
Right here in the...
I mean, like on YouTube?
Oh, just on... Yeah, on YouTube, actually. Because
he would be.
Well, Necro Butcher's not on the network.
Yeah, what am I
It's on
talking
YouTube.
about?
Actually, I watched... it was the first match I watched was Samoa Joe versus Necro Butcher. Have you ever seen that match?
No.
Okay, well,
Is it from Ring of Honor?
No, it's from IWA Mid-South. Ian Rotten
Okay.
promoted this.
Okay.
Actually, I kind of want to show you these 2 matches before you leave my humble abode.
We will watch them.
Cool. And it's Samoa Joe versus Necro Butcher. It's probably the hardest hitting match you've ever seen. Like, it's fucking brutal. And Necro Butcher's the man, basically. Mm-hmm. And do you ever have match of the day on your show? Can the guest have... Fuck it. These are the 2 matches
Why
of
not?
the day.
Let's start it.
And this is a segment on...
If people are going to listen to this
it's going to be Sid Parker's match
talking
of the
about
week.
Vile sexual things, then they might as well watch a Necro Butcher match.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, so Necro Butcher versus Samoa
Butcher versus Samoa
from
Joe.
IWA Mid-South.
And the other match that I watched, which I actually... I don't know which match I like better. There's also Low-Key versus Necro Butcher, which I've seen before, which is very good. But the match I saw was, which you have to watch, Homicide versus Necro Butcher. It's during the CZW versus ROH rivalry that they had, feud or whatever. And, man, it's fucking...
That I do.
It's awesome.
That I have seen. But I haven't seen it any time lately to where I could have a coherent conversation, so I would watch it again.
So they're my 2 matches of the... Is it a weekly
that you
podcast?
watched to prepare for your
My
MCW
debut
as Sid Parker, the Jurassic Punk.
So I guess Necro Butcher is part of my...
When did you discover Necro Butcher?
I had to be... Do you remember when Ring of Honor was on HDNet?
Yeah. It wasn't that
Yeah.
long ago.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Fair enough.
Yeah, well, that was just when I started training to be a wrestler, I think.
Okay.
It was during that time. So I used to watch that, and Necro Butcher was obviously on there. And I don't know who's pretty cool. I love the Age of the Fall. Oh.
Yeah.
Did your computer die?
I think it might have. The microphone light's still on, though.
Oh, it's still on?
No, it's still on.
It's
We're
still
still here,
on.
folks.
We're still here. We have
still
limited
here.
time.
We're still here.
Age of the Fall. I love Age of the Fall. Do you remember Age of the Fall?
No.
Jimmy Jacobs and Seth Rollins now?
No, I didn't watch Ring of Honor.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. Fair enough. I couldn't tell from your work.
Yeah, no shit. Well, some people like chocolate, some people like vanilla, some people like strawberry ice cream. Doesn't mean you're wrong.
Well, nobody likes you.
That's true. Nobody likes me because I'm healing out. No, I didn't follow it too, and especially because I don't know, man. I went through a weird time because when you are flirting with the big companies for a couple of years and then you don't. There was a point in time where I didn't watch Raw for like 3 years.
Yeah,
I just didn't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I get that, and I get that nowadays. Actually, a little bit that I
think everybody
I don't
goes
want
through
to
that at
watch.
some point.
I don't want to watch wrestling sometimes. I almost had to force myself to watch Necro Butcher because I knew I'd fucking lose my shit because it's not. Yeah, it's fucking mental.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that. Like now, I just don't watch it because I don't have enough time in the day, and I'm married, and life's a little different now. But even before, like if I was going to watch something, it goes back to like the people that you are a fan of. So if I had a moment to watch wrestling, I was probably watching Ric Flair versus somebody from the 80s. I don't know. That's my cup of tea. With that said, before this laptop dies, I'd like to do a proper sign-off with Sid. Sid, why don't you close this out, pal?
Well, today's Dream Match segment, which I'm now announcing, is Ric Flair versus Necro Butcher. I'd like to leave you with the thought of that bloody, gory image and bid you a farewell.
To me, he stood out because he licked the ring canvas. Probably AIDS on that mat.